Within 3 is the industry standard virtual engagement platform for pharmaceutical and medical device teams. Meaningful engagement, more effective discussions, faster decisions. Within 3.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our second interview through Next Talks. Today we have our first female leader, which is Francesca Wuttke, the Chief Digital Officer from Almirall. And I can definitely say that Francesca is among the most influential people in digital sphere in pharma worldwide, for sure. Hi, Francesca, how are you?
Hi, Dario. How are you? Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, of course, for accepting our invite. And we would like to start, as usual, between a mix of questions between leadership and personality. And the first question which I would like to ask you is, you lived all over the world, and what are your key learnings from being a pure global citizen?
I think there's certainly something to be learned from every place you live, but I think more importantly from the people you come across. I think having worked in very multicultural, multinational companies, you really do get a sense of a different way of working from many of the associates you come into contact with, and I think it's truly enriching. And you can draw from the good and perhaps be mindful of that's not as good in how in your own leadership and how you run teams, and also how you're able to empathize with different people, not only from a cultural perspective, but just from a human perspective and having different experiences.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next question, which is, what are your leadership principles and how were those shaped during the years in your career?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm a mom, and my team jokes that's something that definitely comes through in how I lead and how my teams are managed. I think it's important to really understand what drives people, and to know that you may not you may you will certainly need a different approach with each person, um, in trying to bring out what's great about them, what's great about their work, what perhaps can use some more improvement or refinement, and I think that's also true with being a parent. Every child's completely a different world, as they say in Spanish, and understanding kind of what makes them tick, but also what makes them shine, I think is really important as a leader.
Very nice words indeed. Next question. Moment when you realized you will reach for the stars and become a leader. Do you remember it?
No, actually, I'm not. I think that's something that we all aspire to be, but I'm not sure if anyone will say that we're quite there yet in the way we'd like to be. My professional trajectory has been quite circuitous. So I started out in managing clinical trials, and I got my PhD in pharmacology and cell biology, and then I went to private equity, to management consulting, to pharma, to technology transfer, back to investing, back to pharma. So I think there was no real one moment yet. Hopefully, at some point, I'll figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But for the moment, I think it's just been a drive to take on, a variety of different challenges. For me, it's always been the thornier and more difficult the problems, the more attractive it is to me.
Okay. These days, we all know that pharma finally entered in the complete digital transformation process, as we all know, during and because of COVID, for sure. And you in particular, of course, need to have innovation embedded in your DNA. And my question to you is how you keep such wide angle of interest, because you already mentioned you came from consulting, you worked in different places all over the world. You worked once in pharma, now you're back in pharma. So how you embed and keep this innovation pace in your personal business life?
I think the epidemic, there obviously it's been a huge global tragedy, but I think the benefits of, if one can say that there are, is forcing the acceleration, not only in digital, just in the use of technology overall, across the world. I think most people wouldn't have known what a Zoom meeting was, a year ago, and now it's just become a way that we interact. Certainly, it's how I interact. We use Teams in my office, but we've become accustomed to speaking to each other in that way, even sometimes when we are in the office, because we have to be socially distanced, and not all of our conference rooms are set up for that. So often we're sitting closer together, but on Teams, because it allows us to share presentations. I think that's it's interesting what I've seen in my own organization. There have been a number of my colleagues that have come up to me that have perhaps been with the organization, some for 20, some for 30, a few for 40 years. And the narrative around technology and around digital has changed, because they've been forced to do things that they were, prior to this pandemic, were able to just brush off and say, I'm not technically savvy, I don't know how to do that. And when you see um, senior leaders having to, something as simple as sharing their screen and logging into their own Teams meetings and not having their assistants do so, it destigmatized some of the fear around novel approaches in general. So it's allowed us to change the narrative that we're having around innovation broadly, not just in digital or technology or data analytics. And that's creating a huge acceleration in the trajectory of the innovation that we're able to achieve within our company.
Mhm. Thank you, Francesca. Next question. Working with startups seems very challenging for sure. What can traditional business like pharma learn from those startups?
Well, I think pharma has a lot to learn from startups, and part of the reason why we launched our digital garden, our startup accelerator, is so that we can embed some of that mindset into our organization, to really allow our employees to work through a different way of working, a different way of thinking, approaching problems in a different way, even decision making a decision when you don't have all the facts, and accepting some risk and some uncertainty in that. So I think in general, startups are obviously very, very streamlined. They're very focused, but they're very easily able to pivot when necessary. For example, one of the startups in our digital garden, Intrepida, they have a clinical trial recruitment platform called Ancora, and they were primarily focused on oncology. So finding trials for patients with cancer, and within 10 days they were able to completely change their platform, based on, it's an AI-based platform, to be able to offer solutions for patients seeking treatments with COVID. And that flexibility of focus and of mindset and of just tactically of your day to day is an incredibly helpful experience for pharma to embed. Um, I think that I see changes in pharma. It's a bit, slowly but slowly, but hopefully we'll get there.
Okay, let's speak about a not so popular team, which is failure, which we all do, of course. So, can you share what you learned from your failures in life?
Yeah, I think even in applying this to pharma, I think that's something that startups do really well. They manage failure, learn from it, and move on. I've been for some time trying to embed objectives in our annual reviews around failure, because I think you can learn a tremendous amount from what didn't go well and make sure that you don't apply it for the future, and share those learnings with different team members across the organization. So I think, I've failed plenty in in my career and in my life, and I think, understanding what drove some of those failures. If it was a potential career move, was it not the right time? Was it not the right organization? Sometimes many of those shortcomings are huge blessings after the fact, because it's a bullet you dodged. So I think that there's also a little bit of intuition involved. If you're kind of going forward and something just doesn't feel right and it doesn't end up happening, that's probably a good thing in the end. So I think just always learning from what goes well, but also especially from what may not go as well, and making sure you don't make the same mistake twice.
Thank you. And let's move forward to our very popular quick fire questions, where I will ask a couple of questions and try to answer as short as possible. And my first one is your favorite musician.
I have terrible taste in music, which my children can attest to, so I won't embarrass myself by by sharing there.
Best day of your life?
Um, well, I have three boys, so it was probably when each of them was born, so divided between those three.
Okay, or three bad days in life, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cats or dogs?
Both, actually. We have two dogs and a cat that came with our house, so we have a lot of creatures living with us.
Nice to hear. Most inspiring historical person?
Um, Gosh, there are a few. The one that comes to mind most recently has been the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was the one of the U.S. Supreme Court justices that just passed, and I think she's inspiring. We went to the same college. We were in the same club in college, and I not at the same time, but um, I think she fought so hard and so early for the rights of women and the rights of people in general, and I find her story really really inspiring. She was really at the vanguard for women of her time.
That's a nice one. I just read the book of her to my daughter some day ago, and she was quite impressed. She is only 5 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah. Well, good. It's a good
Next
lesson.
one, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs?
Um, Both have changed our worlds, I think. Certainly the iPhone has transformed how we do virtually everything: banking, healthcare, how we communicate, how we take pictures, everything. But from what I understand as a person, I think the personal contributions that Bill Gates has done for the world, I think, stand out.
Thank you. Last book which you read?
Uh, I've been reading a lot of political books, which I won't get into here, but I read a book that was recommended by someone who I look to as a mentor, called Essentialism, and
Mhm.
it was about simplifying your life and kind of refocusing your life on the things that are most important to you, and it was pretty impactful.
So simple things very hard to achieve, right?
Yes, always.
Favorite global leader?
Favorite global leader. Um, I may have to take a pass on that in this political situation right now. Today's an ongoing election day in the US, so we'll see.
Exactly. And the first thing you will do when we go back to normal or back to next normal?
I think hug my family. We haven't been able to see them. I live in Barcelona, Spain, and my family's in the US, and it would be great to get to hug them, see them, and hug them.
Okay. Thank you very much, Francesca. It was really a very pleasant interview. And of course, wish all the best and hopefully see you next year in our Dubrovnik live event. So take care and thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll get to see each other in person soon. Stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Within3 is the industry standard virtual engagement platform for pharmaceutical and medical device teams. Meaningful engagement, more effective discussions, faster decisions. Within3.